Hey everyone, it's Joe Waxman, and in this video, I want to look at the charts of comedians, and funny people. This is the astrology of comedy, or the astrology of comics, however you want to put it. All right, let's get into it. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Uh, Actually, just briefly, let me start. All right. So what, and I'm just going to go alphabetically. And actually, there's a whole shitload of people here, so try and get through everyone. Briefly, what we're going to see a lot of is Uranus and Aquarius. But in general, air signs and fire signs. Like if somebody has a lot of air signs and fire signs and nothing that's keeping them, too serious, they're probably going to be hilarious. All right, but let's just try and go through everyone, and I'm not going to spend too long on anyone. All right, but Woody Allen, so Moon in Aquarius, right? And it's perfectly trine Venus in Libra domicile, and by 2 degrees, that's really strong, right? And then Uranus is perfectly trine the ascendant again. And why Uranus? Well, not only does it rule Aquarius, it's for comedy. What's funny is when things are ironic and unexpected and sudden. And Uranus has that sudden quality that can be really funny because it's absurd, it's sudden, it's like a bolt of lightning, it jolts you and it can, hit the funny bone if it's done right, if it's in the right sign, the right combination. Not all Uranian, obviously Uranus can play out in different ways, but Uranus is involved a lot in humor, right? So is Aquarius, but also Gemini, Libra. He's got Gemini Chiron in the 10th. And then he's got Mercury, Jupiter. And Jupiter also is going to play a role. All the planets will, right? Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, even Mars, nodes, even Saturn. But Mercury, Jupiter together, that's going to be very expressive. Jupiter is expanding the expression. These people talk a whole lot. I have this combination. Mine's further apart, but still very expressive. All right. Let's move on. Lucille Ball, and each one of these people is going to have something a little bit different and unique that makes them funny. For Lucille Ball, it's Moon in the first house, conjunct the ascendant in detriment in Capricorn. Why? Because it's in poor dignity, and sometimes poor dignity planets can behave in a way that lends itself to creativity, right? And also Uranus is here, right? Uranus is also in the first house, and that's a huge thing for comedy. But like you'll see it on her face, that's like the moon especially, but also Uranus, has this very slapsticky kind of quality. She's not actually super funny, like if you just see her, like especially as she got older, she got a bit more serious, but extremely talented nonetheless. Let's keep going. Roseanne Barr, and some of these people are, there's gradations. There's going to be more hilarious and less hilarious. Some are mildly funny, some are extremely funny, and that's okay. Like, I just want to cover the gamut, the whole wide spectrum of funny people. But she does have Aquarius ascendant, North Node in Aquarius, right? So that's very prominent. And then Uranus opposite Mars. And this Mars is going to attack this Uranus. There's something with her health or her. This could be TV show because sixth house, how she had her TV show axed. But in any case, Moon in Gemini as well. That's gonna really add to the funny, and that's perfectly trying the Aquarius ascendant. So that's really strong. All right, let's keep going. It's all here. It's not going to there's not going to be any real mysteries. I mean, maybe there will be, but pretty much 99% of the time, it's all going to be, we're going to see exactly what makes somebody tick, what makes them funny, what causes them problems, and so forth and so on. And just for the record, guys, I had somebody criticize the way I do videos, saying that this isn't like an aspect video, like it wasn't really talking about the meaning of that video, is just a bunch of, going over charts. That's what astrology is. There really isn't any other kind of astrology. When somebody is like, this aspect means this, and this, they're drawing on what they gathered from charts, but I'm giving you the real deal. I'm giving you the actual charts so that you can learn too. You don't just have to, I'm not going to spoon feed you like your goddamn baby, like, and plus a lot of times when people are not looking at charts, they're making shit up. They just are. They're just like, they take a little bit, they've seen like one or two examples, maybe, a few more or whatever. And then they're just like, they're filling out the rest that they don't know. It's easy to make stuff up when you don't have anything to reference it to. That's why I look at charts, because this is the real deal. This is the only way to do astrology, is by looking at real life examples. So, in any case, John Belushi, Sun, Mars, Mercury, and Aquarius. I'm telling you, second house. This is it. And then Venus exactly conjunct Jupiter in the first house. That's going to be great for Jupiter is going to expand the Venus. This is in Capricorn, so it's not so good, especially for Jupiter, but still, Lucille Ball effect, right? The poor dignity planet in the first house is going to create that very kind of slapsticky quality. Why? Because poor dignity on the self. That's slapstick, Yeah, it's like literal, right? It's funny. Okay, and then Uranus is in Gemini. And by the way, when Uranus moves into Gemini in 2025, should be a great time for comedy. Not so much Uranus and Taurus, it's a little stuck, but like we should have some serious major comedy at that time. But Uranus is also opposite the moon here, so that's going to be very prominent, right? Neptune may play a role. It may play a supportive role with comedy, right? But here we have the square between Venus and Neptune. And the guy was very indulgent. Jupiter, Venus, square Neptune, and drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. Of course. All right, let's keep going. Got a lot to go through. Jack Black. And see, the goal is to really hammer it in that there's a few things that will make people funny, like, and whatever the category, whether I'm doing like, musicians or beauty, or you'll see repeating themes, and that's how you learn, right? Guys, I'm not trying to shortchange you. I'm actually giving you a lot more than pretty much any other astrologer who's not looking at real charts. If they're not looking at real charts, this is 100 times better. Right? Okay. Jack Black, Uranus conjunct Mercury and Jupiter in Libra. Right? That right there. Extremely funny. It's the Jupiter, Mercury, and Uranus together. Right? And these are opposite, it's opposite Chiron. But North Node in Pisces is very creative. South Node Pluto, very heavy and destructive quality right there. Yeah, and Moon is trying the ascendant. Venus in the first house, right? Venus in the first house is not going to be funny, but it's going to be great for expression and creativity. And then Trine, he almost has a grand water trine. He loves music too. He's a musician. Jack Black, Russell Brand. All right, obviously the Gemini, very strong here. And Aquarius is most of his first house. It's not really on a cusp, but Uranus in Libra, highly prominent. And square to Venus and Chiron and the ascendant, grand T-square. And he gets himself into a lot of trouble, obviously. And then North Node, Neptune, conjunct the MC for creativity in general. And he's not like hilarious, but he is pretty goofy. And publicly very rebellious. Like he does stunts and stuff like that. It's a very prominent Uranus. Pluto probably too. That's Russell Brand. more the Gemini type of polarity. But we're getting those the air, fire themes. And just so you know, like my order of funniness for air signs are Aquarius #1, absolute absurdity. Gemini #2, more in the cleverness. It's clever funny. And then Libra number 3. Libra's, it'll get you there, but not on its own usually. There need to be other factors. And then for fire signs, Leo number 1, because Leo is so big and bright and really showy and loves to just be the center of attention that it really soaks it up. They can really it adds a lot of color to the humor, right? Then Sag, and then Aries. Aries is a bit too aggressive, but it can be funny too. Mel Brooks. I had to include Mel Brooks because he's just absolutely hysterical, like 100% of the time. But there's this the birth time. I wrote that no birth time. This is not an accurate birth time, so I just put 12 p.m. But I included it for obvious reasons. Moon and Jupiter in Aquarius, right? Um, and then Uranus perfectly trine Mercury, right? Brilliant. So yeah, there's that very strong air influence. MC and Gemini for being a writer. Not tons of fire, but Mars and Aries. In any case, the Aquarius is the absurdity, and the Mercury trine Uranus. Bill Burr, he's a comedian, a lesser known one, but still in there. And that he's got that Gemini, and let's see here. Really just comes to Gemini, down to Gemini with Bill Burr, and a little Sag Moon. Sag Moon opposite Venus and Gemini, mostly. But Sun conjunct Venus and Mars. Ascendant Lord. And then Uranus, what's Uranus doing? It's squaring Mars, I guess, loosely. But then the Aries as well. He's kind of aggressive, Jupiter and Leo. Anyway. Steve Carell. Steve Carell has like so much dignity. He's got Sun in Leo, Mercury in Virgo, Venus in Libra, Saturn in Aquarius, and Jupiter in Pisces with Moon Jupiter together. Great combination. But South Node, Saturn in Aquarius, Mars in Gemini, Venus in Libra, and then there's a trine, really nice trine between Venus and Libra and South Node and Saturn in Aquarius, and Uranus in the same sign as Mercury. Pluto conjunct Mercury, but Uranus is close by. And Pluto's not really funny, but it's going to add a lot of intensity. And Mercury opposite Jupiter, both in really good dignity. That Jupiter-Mercury connection gives that really expansive expression that works really well for comedy. George Carlin, not hilarious in my opinion. Definitely like a pretty brilliant social commentary, brilliant, but not hilarious. But anyway, Gemini for the funny. And where's Uranus? Uranus right conjunct the MC, definitely and conjunct Mercury wide, but still there in the 10th house. So that's pretty prominent. Leo ascendant, Sun in the 10th, Aries, Venus, and Saturn. That's not in good dignity. He has some poor dignity planets, but he's quite negative too. George Carlin. Jim Carrey. Great. Aquarius. Saturn, Jupiter exactly conjunct Mercury, South Node, right? Again. And then Uranus in Leo with North Node, MC. And then Neptune on the ascendant. Scorpio ascendant. I mean, Scorpio. So if you just look at the big three, at least two, well, Moon and Gemini. So Moon and Gemini perfectly trine, well, by 1 degree the South Node, and then a few degrees Mercury, Jupiter. So it's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. But like Scorpio ascendant and Cap Sun and Venus and Mars, that's that's really intense. That's not very funny actually. But the Aquarius certainly is, the Gemini and the Uranus in Leo. In any case, it's Jim Carrey. And you can really, really, really see the expansion of expression with Jim Carrey. He's always yelling like just craziness, and the absurdity of Aquarius. Chevy Chase, Chevy Chase, hilarious, absolutely. Um, so there's that Leo MC, Libra ascendant. Let's see. Oh, here we go. South Node, Moon in Aquarius, brilliant. Uranus, um, trine the Moon, and South Node by 2 degrees, the Moon, and that's really good. And that's in Gemini. Mars, Saturn in Gemini. Stationary Saturn in Gemini. That's very unusual. Let's trine exalted Mercury in domicile in Virgo. But yeah, you can see the Gemini, Leo, Aquarius combination for funniness. Also Libra. Almost a grand air trine. Like it's a little off, but it's there pretty much. John Cleese, British comedian, Monty Python. When I was a kid, Monty Python was the greatest thing ever. It was just absolutely hilarious. Absolutely. All right. Mercury, Uranus, opposition. Right. A lot of Aries here, and Mars in Aquarius. Mars square Mercury. And Mars actually rules Mars square Venus, sorry, Mars Scorpio. So that's actually benefiting that. But that for a writer, I think he was more of a writer than he was a player too. But this is very funny. Mercury opposite Uranus. I mean, the Scorpio Taurus axis, if you ask me, it's not the funniest, but Mercury is ruling the MC, in the ascendant, and yeah, it's just absurd. And then the Mars in Aquarius. Danny DeVito, he's hilarious. I watch him all the time on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it's a hilarious show. I just I don't know. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people do like it, but anyway. Moon Mercury opposite Uranus in Sag Gemini. That's funny as can be. He's very intense with the Sun conjunct Mars and Scorpio. But and then Pluto is also exactly trine Mercury. So a lot of really, really strong intensity there. But definitely a funny guy. And that's right here. Moon, Mercury, Uranus. Chris Farley. We're just going right through it. I'm just trying to point out the humor, the comedy in each of these people, just so we can get through as many people as possible. Chris Farley, right? Aquarius stellium in the 7th, Mars, Sun, Saturn, Mercury, and then Uranus conjunct Pluto in the 2nd. And so the 2nd house deals with the voice, and this is very obvious with Chris Farley. He's always yelling, right? And that's Uranus conjunct Pluto. Pluto is providing the intensity. Uranus is the humor, right? Uranus is the shocking quality. Like, I'm living in a van down by the river. It's really fun. And then, of course, Jupiter conjunct the MC along with Venus and Aries, Leo ascendant. Absolutely hysterical. Tina Fey. Tina Fey was born right near me in Upper Darby. It's like a part of Philadelphia, not a very nice part of Philadelphia. But let's see, Leo ascendant, Moon Jupiter in Libra, Uranus in Libra, Uranus perfectly sextile the ascendant right there. Mars, Venus in Gemini. Yeah, that's most of it. I mean, Leo ascendant obviously has Aquarius descendant, but there's nothing there in these planets. There's MC. And she's not, I mean, she's funny, but she's not like, I don't know. I don't get it. But she does have this grand, she does have this, not grand, air trine with Moon, Jupiter, Venus, Mars. And Venus is dignifying this Moon, Jupiter in Libra. All right. And then the Uranus sextile the ascendant in Libra also. Keep going. Kevin Hart. Also, probably what I'm failing to notice is that there's going to be a lack of really heavy, serious combinations, like a Pluto-Saturn conjunction, that's going to show up in their outer personality somehow would inhibit the humor, the comedy. So that's one of the things that we'd have to look at. Like, whereas somebody else might have some signatures for comedy, they might not be that funny because they might have a combination that's making them too serious. But their comedy might be there still. It just might be mixed with some dark heaviness. So it's going to express itself in different ways. In any case, Kevin Hart. So Mars conjunct the MC in Gemini. What's funny is like about Kevin Hart, he actually did a movie where he like wants to be a superstar, like an action hero. But he's like small and feeble, and how he's like friends with The Rock and stuff like that, and he's like all jealous of The Rock because he wants to be like this action hero, and it's funny. He does a comedy about that, starring himself. But that's Mars conjunct the MC. And then Gemini, so it's interesting, right? I have Mars conjunct the MC, but mine's in Leo. But then he has Jupiter conjunct Mercury, Jupiter conjunct Mercury again in Leo, so that the high level expression. Saturn and Virgo and North Node, that is not super funny. That's very serious, but obviously it's not enough to stop him from being Mr. Funny Guy Kevin Hart. Uranus in the third house, right? Trine the sun. So yeah, he's pretty funny. He's not like, doesn't kill me, but anyway. Bill Hicks, another guy, not like crazy funny, not hysterical. I don't like drop dead laughing, but certainly he does have his funniness, his humor, his comedy, and he's got the Jupiter South Node in Aquarius. Jupiter is exactly trine his Libra ascendant by 2 degrees. And then Sag, the fire, Sun, Venus, Sun, Mercury, Mars, all three of these super tight. Mercury, Mars, and then Venus. So he's philosophizing in a very aggressive way, but a very expressive way. That's Sun, Mercury, Mars, right? Saturn's in Capricorn. Okay. Uranus is not really doing a whole lot. It's opposite Chiron, but that's pretty normal. It's always the way it is. It's in Virgo, disposited by Mercury. It's not really connecting with the sun. Anyway, this Aquarius, that's Bill Hicks. Ashton Kutcher, he's funny. I mean, you can't deny it, and it really shows up in his chart. Aquarius still grand air trine. I mean, boom. You really don't need to say more than that. Uranus is exactly in conjunct the ascendant. Neptune on the descendant. All right. Grand air trine. Grand air trines are going to be funny. Jerry Lewis, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And he's got the Jupiter conjunct Venus in Aquarius and Sun conjunct Uranus. Boom. And then Mercury in Aries. He's got Mars conjunct Mars and Capricorn in South Node in the seventh. And he was pretty much a boss. Like he was a boss man, like very aggressive, very hard to deal with, very leadership oriented. And of course we know about his telethon, but that's another story related. Steve Martin, another hilarious guy. Leo ascendant with Pluto right on the ascent, then Sun, and then Mercury in domicile in the exaltation of Virgo. But then we get the Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini, and that's really hilarious. That's 11th house. I think that's really it doesn't have anything in Aquarius, obviously, but that's gonna be really funny. Mars ruling is no, Mars not ruling. Mars ruling the fourth house, dispositing the moon, and not even the MC, but the ninth house goes. In any case, that's Steve Martin's funny bone right there, and the Leo, of course. Eddie Murphy, Leo ascendant with Uranus right on the ascendant in Leo. So here's the thing, Leo, again, that fire and air, Uranus, fire, Uranus, air. Leo's big, bold, and bright, right? And Uranus is that sudden thing. So Uranus in Leo is going to be hilarious. Uranus in, I mean, Uranus can be funny in any sign, but in the fire signs and air signs, it's going to be funnier. Let's put it that way. And then, of course, Jupiter in Aquarius, which is, we see a lot of Jupiter in Aquarius for comedians, a lot of that. And then Sun and Venus in Aries. And then Uranus is trine, widely trine the Sun, but pretty close to Venus. So that again, it's going to be really strong. And then you got the Mars and Moon and Neptune trine. And if you ask me, he does have a serious side that drags him down into like the depths and hiding. Like, you know, how he just kind of disappears for years. Even though he's extremely funny, he'll just go into his cave and disappear for a long time. And that's probably with the Scorpio moon conjunct Neptune and trine Mars. I don't know. It's a difficult combination. He might have some mental health issues there. Some bad behavior. North Node Pluto. It's definitely not easy combination. In any case, I don't know enough about him to really say, but something going on there. I do know a chef, actually, a private chef, but that's another story. Amy Poehler, another Saturday Night Live player. Aquarius ascendant, Mars conjunct North Node in Aquarius. That's very obvious. Jupiter and Neptune at 0 degrees Sag in the 10th house. That is very prominent. And then Uranus exactly trine Mars and North Node from Libra, 9th house, but that's lending itself. And then Saturn also in Gemini, and then Moon and South Node in Leo. Boom, tons of comic aspects, funny aspects. All right, Joan Rivers. I'm just cruising right through these guys because there's so many, and all I really need to do is point out the funny, right? Uranus in the first, Saturn in Aquarius, Chiron, Sun, Mercury, Venus in Gemini. Very clever, very witty, very funny. Opposite, full moon, moon and Sag, right? Almost directly opposite the Sun. MC Lord Saturn in Aquarius, right? In good dignity. Yeah. Sixth house would have to do with her TV show, right? She was a host for a show. Sixth house is about the regular periodical kind of entertainment, the shows and stuff like that. That would be here. Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, South Node in Virgo. All right, let's keep going. Paul Rudd, he's a funny man. Aries stellium, huge Aries stellium. But South Node Uranus is really where the funny comes from. South Node Uranus in Libra, air sign. But he has a grand, and then Moon and Mars and Sag. That's gonna help too. So like the fire and air. Bob Saget, very ugly, detestable character. Probably deserved to die, but any case, he was a comedian, so we should look at his chart. Mars, Chiron, stationary in Aquarius in the third house. So that actually is going to be very, very funny because Chiron's weird, right? And if it's in Aquarius and it's stationary, it's going to be extremely absurd, right? Extremely absurd. And then we got the Leo with Jupiter and Pluto. Jupiter, Pluto together is kind of megalomania because Pluto now is becoming mixing with philosophy. So it's like the philosophy of obsession and ego. Mercury and South Node. Mercury exactly conjunct South Node in Gemini. So extremely clever, right? Scorpio ascendant. Yeah. Uranus exactly trine the Saturn and ascendant. Water sign. The guy was a pervert. Like there's all these horrible stories about like, him with the Olsen twins. Like he's just disgusting. And probably somebody had enough of his. It's pretty a lot of these guys, if they have a penchant for it, they just become pedophiles because they're allowed to. It's the whole rich upper echelon. So it's really, really disgusting stuff. And Bob Saget was in on all that. Real creep. Andy Samberg, very, very silly, very funny guy. Mars, Venus, Pluto in Libra in the first, and then Uranus in the second, although third whole sign house. And it's making an aspect to the North Node or Ascendant. Jupiter in Cancer, let's see. Moon in Aquarius. So Moon in Aquarius, right? Full moon, in fact. Full Sun exactly conjunct Mercury in Leo. Opposite the moon in Aquarius. So that's gonna be very, very funny. And then the Libra helps. Uranus helps somewhat by the position. Any case, second, third. Go to Jerry Seinfeld. South Node Uranus, right? Venus in Gemini, 0 degrees, Jupiter in Gemini, and nothing really in Aquarius. That's okay. Moon in Pisces, Uranus trine moon. So that's perfect. All right. Not a whole lot. Well, Mercury's in Aries, so now I was gonna say not a lot of fire. Pluto and Leo, but there, Jupiter trine Neptune in Libra and Gemini. So, but yeah, the South Node Uranus is really really strong. And then Venus being the ascendant lord. The sun on the ascendant is going to be, great for his career. So is North Node on the MC. Gary Shandling, a lesser known comedian, but still very funny. He had his own show, and Aquarius ascendant, right? A very absurd show. And that's partly due to Chiron conjunct the MC along with Mercury and Sun in Sag. Chiron is definitely the weirdo. And then Venus and Jupiter, not in a great sign, Capricorn, but probably plays into it. Venus expands or Jupiter expands the Venus qualities, so make a lot more creativity. And Capricorn is good for more like leadership roles, obviously. So he had a show, so it was more than just like being a stand-up comic. Uranus is square the moon, so that's probably, and Uranus is in Cancer, so that's interesting. And moon's in Aries. So in any case, yeah, Aquarius ascendant, and then the Sagittarius is trying the moon in the North Node, and then the square of the Uranus playing in there a little bit. Sarah Silverman, another very detestable comic, very, very detestable. These people are horrible, but nonetheless, we're going to look at their charts. Sag ascendant with Neptune and Sun, and then North Node in Aquarius in the third house. Right, that's just right there. And the reason I don't like her much is because she's got this very inexpressive Capricorn moon, but then she's got the Neptune right on these. In other words, her comedy is not coming from her heart. There's no heart involved. The Aquarius, and that's Aquarius. Capricorn moon is making her cold. And maybe that's just an excuse. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. She's not very nice. She's not a nice person. Uranus is square the moon. That's gotta play into it. Definitely gives her a funny vibe, but not in a nice way. Anyway, Mars and Uranus in Libra. Mars trying the North Node. Got the Sag influence, South Node in Leo. All right, let's keep going. David Spade. David Spade is, I do like David Spade. Very funny man. And let's see, nothing in Aquarius, but he's got Venus and Mars in Gemini. Aries ascendant, Sun in Leo. Uranus and Pluto exactly trying the moon. I mean, he's got moon in Capricorn too, so it's obviously, and I know a lot of people with moon in Capricorn, including both my father and son. So it's not a diss on moon in Capricorn, it's just how Sarah Silverman plays out. But Uranus conjunct Pluto trine the moon, with moon conjunct the MC. That's gonna be really, really funny. And then of course Leo, Sun and Mercury in Leo definitely helps out a lot. And Venus and Mars in Gemini. Aries ascendant. All right. And then again, the Uranus and Pluto conjunction in Virgo just adds a ton of intensity to it. Tracy Ullman, on her own, not super hilarious, but she did write a lot of comedy shows, and she's a boss lady. I mean, she's got Sun, Saturn, and Moon in Capricorn. But she does have Uranus in Leo conjunct the MC, so her career is going to be hilarious, right? Uranus in Leo, the big, bold, bright colors. Like, just think of, when you think of Leo, just think of like the sunshine and a prism or a rainbow, right? Highly colorful, right? That's Leo. And then Uranus is the shockingness. So it's like bright, happy, shocking. That's funny. So it's trine Mars and Mercury and Jupiter in Sagittarius. That's gonna be very, very funny. And does she have Chiron in Aquarius on the fourth house? That's also gonna be very funny. The Capricorn stuff, not funny, but good for being a boss lady and telling other people how to be funny. And of course, Neptune on the ascendant is good for anything creative. Neptune is not going to be funny on itself, but it's going to it's going to lend itself to the humor because of the creativity that it can influence, the creativity that it can add to the person's chart. All right, Betty White, man, we went through them all. Betty White's the last one, of course, and Mercury in Aquarius, and she's also a boss lady with Capricorn Sun and Venus, and she's been in TV for like a billion years. Of course, I think she died recently. But she was like one of the pioneers in the TV industry. She not only acted, she wrote, and she's got Neptune on the ascendant, of course, and so similar to Tracy Ullman, in fact, and Aquarius, Mercury, and then Uranus. Uranus is trine Pluto, and in conjunct Saturn and Libra. Interesting. North Node conjunct exalted Saturn, Jupiter and Libra. Right. And then semi-square Venus, it seems. But it's in the 7th, right? And it's in Pisces. So what's really interesting is, like, you know how she acts like a dope? She's like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh. Well, I think that's kind of the Uranus and Pisces. The Pisces is that spacey, dopey thing, and the Uranus is the humor. She has that kind of humor, and it ties into this Mercury and Aquarius in the 6th, moving to the 7th. Right? So, and this Mercury seems to be a little bit opposite Neptune. So, also that's going to be interesting as well. Adds to the creativity. Leo ascendant, of course. Very funny. All right. So she can turn it on and turn it off, I think, because this Uranus is in conjunct. Oh, the stationary Saturn in Libra. This Saturn is so potent. That's why she's such a boss lady. Obviously, Sun and Venus in Capricorn, but she can turn it on or turn it off. Like she can just be like total boss lady, writing, directing her shows, and then turn on the funny, because the in conjunct is like the light switch. It's on or off, right? So she could turn on that dopey humor, or be a major boss lady with the very with this completely stationary, dignified Saturn conjunct North Node. That's amazing. And then Jupiter's here too to help it. Jupiter brings success. In any case, that's Betty White. That's why she has such a long, powerful career. Stationary planet, and then Mars and Scorpio in the 4th. Jeez. Stationary planets are so powerful. So guys, that's pretty much it. I think I've made a pretty rock solid case for humor. It's all about Aquarius and Uranus, and then followed up by the other air signs and fire signs, Leo especially, but all the other ones, and Jupiter plays a role in it, as well as does Mercury and Venus. But those are the main players in comedy. And the lack of seriousness, the lack of having something that gets in the way of the comedy, because you can have somebody who has a really great sense of humor, but it's blocked by something very serious. Then the humor is underneath. It's not that they're not funny anymore. It's just that it's not going to express itself outwardly. It's, maybe they can be a funny writer or something like that, or have hidden sense of humor that it's not as obvious. Like, I have a really good sense of humor, but like I'm too self-conscious for it to come out a lot, so and I do have Uranus on the ascendant, but it's in Scorpio. So in any case, I was really funny when I was younger, when I was a kid, when I was less inhibited. Maybe I'll find a way back to that. But in any case, guys, I hope you found this valuable. Like, subscribe, share, book a reading with me. You can email me at macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com. Or you can check out my website, macroastrology.com. But all right. We'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.